looks like I just went. Set it up for you. As soon as that bar hits,
Got it.
all right. We're good.
All right. Call the meeting to order. So if you call the roll, please.
Yeah, Rick Charchinsky,
Sure.
Vanessa Warren,
Here.
Emily Dubay,
Here.
Jack Deegan and George Pete are absent. Bill Mulder,
Here.
Mark Bidet,
Here.
Andrew Bowman,
Here.
Al Dyka,
Here.
Max Bass.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Moving on to the minutes, December 2nd, 2021 meeting. So we had a chance to review the minutes, any comments, corrections, punctuation.
No, I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment or correspondence for anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Hearing none. New and old business, discussion of the first draft, updated master plan. Actually, do the second draft, but we do the first draft last meeting.
Oh, did we have some changes to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Minor.
there was some inclusion of some language that Bill was working on with Larry, but Larry did a great job at the last meeting of summarizing all the work to date, sort of why we are here, where we are, the process by which we could choose to move this on to city council. Just as a quick review, we don't need to go through that all again tonight unless you'd like to, but does anybody have any questions about how we got to where we are or the process moving forward? You guys are the best blank stares in business. Then we would open discussion for the second draft of the updated master plan. I think, not to speak first, but the language I think in particular that we were going to have added was regarding short-term rentals. Larry, you might be able to identify or build a page faster than I could. But that
Page 1515
Okay.
of the document, not of the PDF.
And just to draw everybody's attention to that, we discussed it last time. I think your support for adding that language. So if anybody had any comments or thoughts on that.
Maybe I can point it out. It's under low density residential.
On
And
page 15.
yep, page 15 of the document itself.
Mine's showing page 23 of the PDF. If that helps.
That's right.
I thought you said,
For those of you scrolling along at home. So
there we go.
And the wording that Larry and I came to, our residents also strongly prefer homes in these neighborhoods not be used as short-term rentals, less than 30 days at a time, which they believe erodes the pleasant small town feeling.
We also worked on that second sentence there too. These neighborhoods can be characterized primarily as friendly and populated by full-time residents with some seasonal owners as well.
That's right.
Those are the two changes in that opening paragraph of low density residential.
thoughts? Those are good. Good. You're generally satisfied with that. My only thought that was say many residents also strongly as opposed to residents, but you guys I think got it right the first time. So I'm reading the teleprompter and I put many there and then I read it, but I don't feel strongly about it. So I think it summarizes what we were trying to do there.
Larry, are there unfriendly neighborhoods in Harbor Springs?
Just during the Michigan State year.
Okay.
That's the only time. Any other, Larry, specifically, any other changes that you made from the first draft?
Yeah, there was a number of editorial changes. I don't know if you want me to go through all of those or not.
No, I think if anybody had a particular favorite that you were hoping would be fixed, if you noticed that it was or wasn't fixed, we can always add those comments to Larry or to send them to Jeff to get to Larry. But and the maps have been added.
Okay, one of the bigger changes I did make was on page 2 under community input. That kind of triggered by the work that Bill and I did. I wanted to make sure we put in there that at the bottom of the page, we had 2 public input sessions. And the topics were housing and short-term rentals. And they generated substantial public input on page 2 of the document. There we go.
Second paragraph from the bottom.
Yeah, copy of the results reviewed at City Hall.
It seems great.
With that, does anyone have anything they would like to add? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question on page 3 under land use development patterns. At the end of the second paragraph, to date, the city has plus or minus 60 registered short-term rental homes and only a few cause reported problems in the neighborhood. I don't understand why we need to put that part in about only a few of them are problems. Because my general understanding from the meeting that was held, there were like 65 people there, and very many of them had problems with short-term rentals. And I think that this kind of puts their comments aside. I don't think it's a necessary phrase.
You think it's enough just to say today the 60 has 6 plus or minus 60 registered short-term rental homes?
Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, I saw that too. And the rest of this paragraph is all about, the factual aspects about the city. And that's kind of a judgment.
I agree.
It doesn't seem like it.
Yep.
It fits there.
I don't think it does any harm to just leave it as the factual part of that sentence. Does anybody
Okay.
feel strongly one way or the other?
Yeah, I was thinking it would be clearer if it was removed. Today, and just leave it at the number of short-term rentals that are licensed today.
And I prefer that too.
Okay, so it would end after short-term rental homes, period.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, and only a few cause reported problems in the neighborhood.
That would be stricken.
Yep.
Yep, got it.
Thank you.
You hadn't seen the maps as often.
Yeah, and I have a question
Yeah.
about one of the maps. The colors aren't jiving for me.
I thought it was just me.
Okay, because if we look at the maps and their colors, it tells us that we're almost all completely medium and not low density.
Are we looking at the current land use map or the future land use map?
Okay, current.
So that's between page 4 and 7 of the,
13 of the
Plan.
PDF.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't jive with what the low density and medium density write-ups that we have. Then on page 23 of the PDF.
Yeah, I would agree that the yellow is more indicative of medium density than
It
low
is.
density. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
And I didn't know if it was just,
the definition, just to follow it through, so you were saying on 23 of the PDF,
23 or 24 talks about the medium and it being apartments and.
yeah, I agree that yellows are probably,
And the only, and I'm being a stickler about it because now we have that language about the rentals and being a nice neighborhood. And, if you look at this, it looks like there's almost none of those in there.
and if you look at the zoning district map, which the color keys are a little bit different, but, anything that would be considered kind of R2 or RM is certainly not all of the R1A, B, and C. Does that make sense? Larry, did Benchmark do the key on that map, or Jeff?
yes, yeah, we took the feedback from the meeting where we discussed these and we took that to Benchmark to have them make some changes. Some of the changes that we have is they more clearly pointed out some of the areas that can't really be developed that look like they, from looking at the old map, could be like the
Right.
conservation easement
And the
properties
parks
and
and-
parks and some of that stuff. I think the color code there on the current land use map with the low density and the medium, if we look at the parcels that are shown here as the low density, those are some sites throughout town where the ratio of acreage to the number of dwelling units on them is significantly larger. Where in theory, some of those could probably be split into multiple lots. If we want to change the labels on these, if it makes more sense to you to label them in another way and have what we have predominantly shown as medium density, shown as low.
We just need to correlate it with the labels that we have on the other pages.
Right, it's sort of, I see why they did it the way they did, because it's sort of the existing use is relative to the light colored parcels where there's very little, like there may be one house on a 2-acre lot in town, which is, there's not many of those, that's sort of identified as being low. But I think now we're starting to use the terms low and medium to define other things other than just exactly what's going on the ground. So there might be confusion later if people look at it and say, well, you intended for all this to be medium, but really it's medium relative to the sparsely built lots in town. It's not medium density, meaning referring to our definition of medium density in the plan. So I think some either it's probably easiest to rename or recolor code. I don't know that those few parcels that are light yellow on the current land use map, some of them may have changed slightly since this was done, but I don't know that they differ so greatly from the other residential. It may be enough just to make those the same shade yellow and just call them all low density, because that's really what they are. I mean, they really are all low relative to multifamily, R2, cottage, the cottage courts, those types of things. Does that make sense to people, just to make the residential on the map one shade of yellow that's identified? It's predominantly low density in the city.
It really is.
As we're now defining.
Agreed, yeah.
And it's just one of those things, where you go to find your house.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm medium, I'm not in
Yeah.
the nice neighborhood and I'm not.
Yeah. I live in a park.
Larry, you don't have any concerns with that?
I have no concerns with that at all, and that makes a lot of sense to put most of this community in low-density residential.
And I think it's easier just to shade the light yellow ones, the same yellow as the other residential, and then just get rid of the medium density in the key.
Yep.
But you want to put low density down by the dark yellow, otherwise you have to recolor.
Yes.
Yeah, so combine low and medium and just call them all
Make them
low.
all dark yellow.
Yep.
All right, that I don't think would be.
It's
too
easier
difficult.
to take the light yellow and make it the
Exactly.
darker yellow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Got a lot less work to do that way.
good catch. Anything else?
On page 18 of the document, 26 of the PDF, I think there's a stranded word. Barry, tell me when you're there.
I'm here.
Okay, under waterfront,
Yes.
second paragraph, 1, 2, maybe third line, said about the things we're not going to build in the harbor. There's just the word cell, C-E-L-L floating there, so to speak.
Yes.
And, did that used to say cell tower or something, or
Yeah.
or is it?
But cell, I think it's supposed to go with the structure, cell structures.
what is it?
Cell,
That's what I read.
cell, closed or permanent structures,
What's a cell structure?
a tower.
Like a cell tower, maybe cell structure. Because sometimes it's not the whole tower, it's like on the school, they just have the antennas
little
and stuff,
things.
maybe that's why.
That
I
the
don't-
seagulls all
Or they
hang
just
out on.
build those little 6x8
Yes.
buildings that they just put everything in for computer equipment and whatnot.
So either we should take out cell or add cell structure, or do you think that's?
Or change cell to cellular?
Yeah.
Or
That would
Yeah.
make,
Seems
Or
more.
Where
descriptive.
are we at again?
transmission,
It's on the screen,
radio.
it's page 20.
And then I think now we're really getting into the weeds. I think you need a comma there too.
That would make it more clear.
And then that makes it more clear that it's a cell, a closed, and a permanent structure within the harbor.
Cell structure closed or permanent.
Yep,
Structures.
Got it. So it goes cell structure, comma, closed, comma, or permanent structures within the harbor.
boom, yes.
Good catch.
Good catch.
Every time, fine. Time to read it.
Yep. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Sections, the only thing that I had was, we get down to, when we move the introduction to the appendix, and now it's somewhat odd to have it, the introduction be titled as introduction. Does it make any sense to call it the overview or something like that, as opposed to, it seems like the introduction should be, we moved it for good reason, because it's sort of historical and not something that maybe people who are finding out, looking at considering a building or a project that would gravitate towards it. But I just thought if we wanted to start that section as a header of overview as opposed to introduction.
Or background.
Background, yeah, the background was the other one, so. And then the next thing under it is history, so it could either be background or overview. Maybe background's better. So. Again, I won't lose any sleep if we leave it the way it is. Does that make sense to you, Larry, at all, or anybody else thinking?
No, it does. And you're on page A1, correct? Alpha
Yes,
1?
sorry. Yep.
All right. I'm just making sure.
34 of the PDF.
Right. Well, Victor controls what I look at on the screen, so.
That's right. Okay.
Okay, so you wanted to change the word introduction to,
I think background.
Let's try background.
okay,
Yeah.
background. Good
Yeah.
idea. Okay. So noted.
So with any other comments or changes that people feel would be important before we contemplate sending this to council for the first look on their part? Hearing none. Larry, I don't think any of these changes would, in your opinion, would they warrant, a third hearing on this, or is it something that we could? If
Well,
people chose to-
the next step in the process, since we've never had a public hearing on it, is to send it to the city council for their review and to see if they would be willing to authorize it for distribution to the local units of government in the area as required by law. And then we go into that 2-month waiting period, basically, before we can hold the official public hearing. Which would, I think we had it programmed in my letter from last month, around March, the third week in March.
Larry, if council at that meeting decides to make any changes, would that have to go back to the planning commission for their approval and then back to the council again?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
And do we feel as a group comfortable sending what we have, inclusive of the changes we discussed tonight, send that to council for their next meeting to consider? I think.
Next meeting would be January 17th because January 3rd is a holiday for city staff. Offices are closed.
And if we did feel that way, I think there's a resolution that was provided. It's longer than I'm going to attempt to read.
No, that resolution is for your consideration after the official public hearing.
I'm sorry, that would be after city council holds their public.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
No, that comes after your public hearing that you hold probably in March or maybe April
Okay.
of next year. That's under that on the cover, it says Planning Commission adoption.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's where you're going to consider that resolution for adoption. And then it goes to the city council after that for their consideration of adoption. And that will be an excerpt of the minutes going in the last page of this document.
Okay. So with that explanation, just
Do we need a
We would
motion
need
to
a
send
motion
it
to-
on
yeah.
council for review?
that'll be the motion.
I'll make that motion.
We have support for the
I'll
motion.
second
Any further discussion on the motion or questions about it? Might as well do a roll call just to add a sense of drama.
Let's do it. We ready? Al Dyken,
Yes.
Andrew Bowman,
Yes.
Mark Boudet,
Yes.
Bill Mulder,
Yes.
Emily Dubé,
Yes.
Vanessa Warren,
Yes.
and Rick Darchinsky.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Yes. You did, you were like the second one.
You want to vote again? I'll call your name. I
It's
checked
the
you out.
holidays, a lot going on.
Has dog got time? Okay, motion passes. And do we have any member comments?
You have one comment on the agenda. Jeff had put 2021, it's 2022, the next meeting, but we're not having master plan meetings, I think, the next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you weren't here last meeting, but we talked about just going back to once a month, the regular planning commission meeting. So
Sure.
we're looking
Yeah, no
at
problem.
Thursday, January 21st.
Oh, great.
So then at that meeting, that normally that January meeting, we don't have anything that's been submitted to be on the agenda.
Okay.
So it should be a pretty short meeting, but we will cover going over some of the basic rules and regulations that we have. So we will re-elect our new chair at that meeting. We'll also discuss and review our calendar for the year of our meetings if we want to make any changes to that. So generally, that'll be the basis for that first meeting. The only other thing I would have is we did just get our letter from, for the water spill or for FEMA. So we've gotten the final letter on that. So the next bit is we will need to do a resolution that we're staying in that FEMA project, which is what permits a lot of the people that would border it to be able to do the flood insurance the way that we have been doing it. So we've previously done it, so it would just be renewing and continuing with that, but I believe we bring that back to the planning commission for review for that. So we'll do that within the next 6 months here.
Any other member comments? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
You too.
Yes.
Get to work, Sarah.